Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call this meeting to order today and welcome everybody here for our April the 13th, 2023 board meeting. Our first item on the agenda today is an invocation by Pastor Spencer of Melrose United Methodist Church.
You all just join me for a quick prayer. Eternal and holy God, we thank you for this community. We thank you for this place, and we thank you for our lives within it. As new life springs forward into this world, it reminds us of the beauty, of the wonder, of the joy of your creation. Help us to protect and care for your creation in this community here. Be with the members of this board and all who partake in the meeting today, and may the plans and the conversations strive towards your want and will for this world and our community. Please preserve the peace and the love that we share for each other, and may it all come about in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Spencer. All right, next is the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our next item is the approval of the agenda. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? I think we have one on the public hearings tonight. The application for the new YCAP has been withdrawn. Are there any other changes or additions to it? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. And next would be the approval of the minutes. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got 5 sets of minutes. Any additions or deletions to those minutes?
I move that we approve.
All right, got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you do have one set of minutes that were approved for the December meeting, I believe. There's a correction that needs to be made to those minutes if the board wishes to do so. That information was sent to the board earlier. What we would need to do, if the board wishes to do that, we would need to rescind that motion on the approval of those minutes and then approve the minutes with the correction.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Tadlock.
I think we need to add the corrections to the minutes.
Make a correction?
Right.
All right. I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
And Mr. Tadlock, I abstained from the other motion because I was not here for one of those meetings.
You mean on the regular minutes?
Yeah, the one March 1st.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jett.
And now you need a motion to reapprove.
That
Yep.
initial, Mr. Brandon's motion was for, to rescind those minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so now we need a motion to.
I make a motion to approve the minutes with the correction.
All right.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda, the presentations. We have a resolution here for emergency service response voting incident. Mr. Basin?
Whereas Northumberland County Sheriff's Office received a 911 call regarding a vessel taking on water in Chesapeake Bay at approximately 1:45 p.m. on April 1st, 2023. And whereas Smith Point Sea Rescue located 8 individuals in the water approximately 1.5 miles northeast of Buoy 62, and whereas 3 squad units from Northumberland County Emergency Medical Services performed triage and provide care at Ingram Bay Marina, where temporary housing was offered to the survivors. And whereas the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors hereby expresses their greatest appreciation for the many organizations who work together to successfully complete this mission. Those organizations who contributed are as follows: Smith Point Sea Rescue, Northumberland County Rescue Squad, Mid-County Volunteer Rescue Squad, Northumberland Department of Emergency Services, Virginia Marine Police, Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources, United States Coast Guard, Northumberland County Emergency Dispatch, and the Ingram Bay Marina. Now therefore be it resolved that this resolution of gratitude be adopted by the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors on this day, April 13, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this resolution.
Second.
All right, we got a motion second. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, as being one of the members of the Northumberland Rescue Squad on this call, I want to commend all the EMS agencies. There was great cooperation, communication. Chief Balderson came from home and his residents came down. We all agreed that he be the on-scene commander. There was one specific provider designated to do triage, and then it was agreed who would have gotten the necessary patients based upon their risk level and injuries. So he worked very well, and I want to commend all EMS agencies who were involved with that. Fortunately, no serious scenarios, but everybody was prepared for it. This was a mass casualty, first time I ever done a report where I had to check mass casualty, but it worked very well. Great coordination, very communication. Our squad actually had a mass casualty training the Tuesday before. Hospitals were notified. Ethan took care of VCU, Tappahannock. I took care of RGH. So they were prepared in worst case scenario, and thankfully it was not. Smith Point Rescue got them out to water, got them to us, so everything worked very well, thankfully for all involved. And then Billy Pipkin with Ingram Bay Marina helped to provide them shelter in the meantime. So it worked very well, the way it should.
Yes. Yes, everyone did a wonderful job, and as always, when they are responded to serve, they always show up. So it's very nice to have that feeling here.
And I can tell you, there's so many agencies popping around in there, I can tell you. VMRC, Conservation Fleet, Coast Guard had a helicopter flying, and then the Coast Guard, one of their small boat came in. So there was extra agencies besides their EMS and Smith Point Sea Rescue. So everybody had that one covered very well.
All right, you made the motion. Did I get a second?
Mr. Long, second.
All right, got a second. All right, if no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Want help?
No. Your job.
All right. Since I have so many on here, let's start with Smith Point Sea Rescue first. Could you come on up first?
Can you get everybody to stand together all at once, all the groups?
It's going to be a crowd.
Yeah, we can get them one by one, then we'll try to get them all up here together.
How you doing?
Gentlemen, thank y'all for your service. Appreciate it very much. I know I depend on y'all. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Northumberland County Rescue Squad.
Just stay close. I think she wants to get a picture of one together.
All right. Thank you all for your service, as always. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Susan, for coming. All right, Mid-County Volunteer Rescue Squad.
Mr. Lucas.
Sir Charles.
Next will be Northumberland Department of Emergency Services. Thank y'all, gentlemen, and thank you for all your services besides that. Steve, Paul, thank you for all you did. Yes, sir. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Virginia Marine Police. Gentlemen, thank y'all for your services. We're glad to know we have you there when we need you. Send that to y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources. All right. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your services that day. All right. Thank you. United States Coast Guard. No one here from the Coast Guard? All right, we'll get that to the Coast Guard. Northumberland County Emergency Dispatch. Thank y'all for all the work that you do at the Sheriff's Dispatch. All right, the last one is Ingram Bay Marina. Ingram Bay Marina. Come on here. All right. Now, can we get everybody to come back up and get one photo?
Billy's not here.
She's not putting that mic over for you to talk. You don't give a speech right after that.
Huh? All right, I'll get in there.
Thank you.
Well, thank everyone for the service that you did that day, and as always, thank you very much.
You all ready?
Next item on the agenda tonight is proclamation Child Abuse Prevention Month. Mr. Basic.
Whereas child abuse and neglect are common problems in the community where preventing such behaviors lie in the active involvement among people, and whereas child maltreatment often occurs when individuals find themselves in stressful situations and not having the necessary knowledge on how to cope due to lack of community resources, and whereas the majority of child abuse cases stem from conditions and circumstances that are preventable when part of an engaged and supportive community, and whereas all children should strive to become more involved in supporting families, all citizens should strive to become more involved in supporting families to better raise their children by creating a safe and nurturing environment. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, the business community, and the citizens of Northumberland County. And now therefore be it resolved that the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors hereby recognize April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Northumberland County, and we call this observance to the attention of all our citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live.
All right.
So moved.
All right, got a motion. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone here tonight?
Yes. Dawn and Danny. Dee Dee's.
Come on up, ladies.
Yeah. Intersanctum.
Ladies, here you go. Child abuse is a problem everywhere. I hope we don't have any problems in the county.
All right. All right.
We can prevent a lot of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought you would give us, I thought you were going to get parents.
Not this year.
Not this year?
All right, next one is the proclamation for Telecommunicators Week. Drew?
Whereas the Congress of the United States and the President of the United States have established the week of April 9th through 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and whereas the emergencies occur around the clock that often require police, fire, or emergency medical service, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical service personnel is critical to the protection of life or preservation of property. And whereas public safety dispatchers are the initial contact to our residents in need and represent a vital link to our police officers and firefighters portrayed through monitoring their activities, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety dispatchers are more than a calm and reassuring voice on the other end of the phone, they are of the unseen first responders who are knowledgeable and highly trained individuals working closely with other police, fire, and medical personnel. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their position, and whereas public safety dispatchers daily serve the public in countless ways without recognition by the beneficiaries of their service, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim the week of April 9th through 15th, 2023 to be known as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Northumberland County in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our county and citizens safe.
All right, got a motion to have a second? I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Come on back up again. Thank you all again for all the work that you do over the district. Thank you very much. All right, next one will be a proclamation, National Library Workers' Day. Mr. Basie?
Whereas Northumberland County Library provides community members with the knowledge and information they need to live, learn, and work in the 21st century. Whereas there are thousands of academic, governmental, public, school, and specialized libraries in the United States and provide excellent and invaluable service to library users regardless of age, ethnicity, and socioeconomic background. Whereas libraries represent a microcosm of the larger society, and library workers play an important and unique role in the communities that they serve by providing an inclusive environment where all are treated with respect and dignity. Whereas librarians and library supporting staff bring the nation a world of knowledge in person and online, as well as personal service and expert assistance in finding what is needed when it is needed. Whereas it is important to recognize the unique contributions of all library workers and the value to individuals in society of those contributions. Whereas a steady stream of recruits to library work is necessary to maintain the vitality of library services in today's information society. Whereas libraries, library workers, and library supporters across America are celebrating National Library Workers' Day, sponsored by the American Library Association Allied Professional Association. Therefore, be it resolved that the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors proclaim Tuesday, April 25th, 2023 as National Library Workers' Day. The board encourages all in the community to take advantage of the variety of library resources available and to thank the library workers for their exceptional contributions to American life.
All right. All right, got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a motion, second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you for all the work that you do over the library. Excellent job. Have a lot of people down here, you know that. Keep up the good work. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'd like to add to that, if you don't read her report that she sends in every month, you ought to read it.
Right.
You'd be surprised of the services that they provide to the county and how many people actually use those services.
Correct.
Yes, yes.
Fantastic job.
All right, our next item would be an update from the Virginia Department of Transportation, David Beal. Bill, good to see you today, sir.
Just have a brief report. We've been patching potholes countywide, cleaning ditches in the Sunnybank and Fairport areas, cleaning pipes in Heathville, Sunnybank, and Fairport. We did a sidewalk trip hazard removal here in Heathville. We have a little bit more to do on that. We repaired a slope on 360 near Cone Stage. We're working on shoulder and driveway repairs in Horsehead, and we repaired signs countywide and addressed work orders countywide. Coming up, we're going to be cleaning ditches in Fairport and Balls Neck, sweeping curb and gutter. We're continuing to patch potholes, repair signs, address work orders countywide. We have some additional concrete repairs planned in Wacomico Church, Reedville, and Callio. Also, every once in a while we get an opportunity to do something kind of fun. Not that every day is fun, but we're planning to attend the career fair at Northumberland High School next Friday. So we're looking forward to meeting with those students. We also have curb signage upgrades. We're going to go with a large night arrow here in Heathville at the bookstore, as well as the lighting is being upgraded to LED lights, and we're going to install some striping through that curve. We call those puppy tracks. They're little skip lines through the intersection to try to help guide motorists through that curve. The payment schedule, that work has not started in Northumberland yet. Expect that later this summer. And the secondary 6-year plan, we'll likely be able to do Addie's Point Road in 2025, and we'll need to hold the public hearing for that next month. The scour repair, 604, that project is now complete. We still have 601 to do, but that has not been advertised for construction yet. So that's my report. If you all have anything for me, I'm happy to take your concerns.
Any board members have any comments? Mr. Long?
No, not at this time.
Mr. Brand?
The Hampton Hall Bridge, Northumberland, Westmoreland County, ice has been forming on that bridge now for the last 2 years, because the sign is still down that says ice forming on the bridge. And the reason I'm bringing it up, I don't know if someone has damaged that sign, the latches to hold it up, or it just got missed.
I'll check on that.
I get sometimes a concerned citizen will send me a photo of it. Like I said, I don't know if the sign is broken or what, but
I'll
that's
bring
been
it
down.
to their attention and we'll get it fixed if it's broken.
That's all I have.
All right, Mr. Tomlin?
The issue with the building getting run into in Hicksville, what about rumble strips in the road?
That's an option.
Because I saw it was recently done at the Good Luck Road, as you're coming from 200 and going toward
Right.
Road 3. And I haven't heard of the accident history, certainly not of any serious nature. But here, you can't do the centerline rumbles because by then, if they hit the centerline rumble, they've already crossed the road by then. Whereas in, up and down the other roads, you got those inverted rumbles. You couldn't really do that there. Something's got to be done to wake up these people, literally and figuratively. Rumble strips before the turn and, it's before, basically that line of sight, right for that same spot, need to put some alert. I know the signage, but if what we're hearing, the person is asleep, a rumble strip might wake them up more than the sign is.
Yeah, I mean,
And I was thinking about the rumble stick right by the library, you know?
There's a sequence of where they do it, I understand
Right.
that, but
yeah, we try to avoid rumble strips in, populated areas. Either the one in Good Luck is fairly a rural stretch. We have some curves.
well,
Just
you weren't
because-
worried about waking up people, a car crashing into a building wakes up people too.
But
Right.
I think one is needed in that area, you know?
So, something's got to be done. I mean, you can drop the speed until 0, but people still going to fall asleep apparently. Either that or they're so distracted they're not paying any attention. But something's got to be to, I mean, I know don't like to have it in rumble strips in densely or populated area. Well, Northumberland County is not the most populated area. But I think there needs to be some aggressive response to this, because this is the second time. And sooner or later, I'm sure that insurance company is going to say, enough's enough, and that's not fair to them.
May I ask you, is the board asking me to put rumble strips in the road?
I so move that rumble
Yeah.
strips be put in the road.
Second.
Okay.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I'll just make one comment.
Yes, sir.
We will likely get complaints about the noise for rumble strips. We'll do this at your direction, assuming I can get it approved through traffic engineering. There are about 3 million cars that make trips up and down 360 over a year's time period. And, I think we've had 4 that have gone through the curve, and it's been devastating to that building and that area. But you're going to hear those rumble strips 3 million times in the time of the year.
Well, my daughter lives in the Glee Point area. You've got the inverted rumble strips. That's 45. Hearing at 45 versus 25, it's certainly going to be a lot less noise.
Okay.
So, but again, you have fire engines and ambulances coming up and down that road all the time. So nobody's received a complaint about that. But if you have an accident in that building, you're going to have the same people responding with the same siren. So I hate to see a property owner lose their insurance, because insurance now, like cars and vehicles, they're treating them the same way. I'd hate to see that building, because the other thing is it could hit harder, and there is an apartment up there, and if somebody then comes down through the floor with injuries, you're going to have a different kind of response. And I'll take a complaint on a rumble strip in a building there any day of the week.
Okay.
So that's my motion.
You have anything else, Mr. Beal? All right.
You want to?
Any other comments on this?
Is there anything else that could be done other than the rumble strip?
I mean, we've thought about it. I mean, it's like Mr. Tomlin said. I mean, if somebody's intoxicated, asleep, how do you wake them up, or how do you make them look at a sign? Rumble strips isn't a bad idea, it's just it comes with somewhat of a price to the community. So
The only other thing this landowner could do is put big rocks or 6x6 posts sunk deep, and then they're gonna, if a person runs into it, they're gonna turn around and sue them for doing it.
I mean, sort of realigning the road, which
Good luck doing that
probably
there.
isn't practical.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay a whole lot more than that than the rumbles.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments? If not, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. There you go, Mr. Beal. All right, Mr. Jett, you got anything?
No.
I don't have anything,
Okay.
so, thank you, Mr. Beal,
Thank
for
you all.
coming today.
Y'all take care.
Thank you. All right, next item is an update from Northumberland County Schools, Dr. Holly Wargo.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and supervisors. The first thing we'll do is talk about updates, and I provided a weekly message with you. You're receiving that a day early. We'll start out on page 1. We were really excited last week to congratulate C.J. Williams as he commits to furthering his education and football career at Bluefield University. So very excited about his future. Also on page 1, you'll see our second grade students traveled to the Richmond Symphony, and that was on this past Wednesday. If you move on to page 2, this evening is a very exciting night for our division. We're having a division-wide art show, and we are also hosting the middle school and high school choir. The choir is doing a tribute to Michael Jackson this evening, and that starts at 6:30 p.m. On page 2 and a couple pages after that, you'll see that the elementary school hosted Career Day. That was right before spring break. And we want to publicly thank all of our business leaders and community partners who took the time to share their talents and expertise with our students. And you can see all of the participants in the pictures that follow. And that's on pages 2, 3, and 4. On page 4, you can see that our NHS students, some of them took a tour of the University of Mary Washington, and also our NMS Art Talented students visited Hewlett's Tavern, and they learned about weaving, and they were able to learn from the best. And they had Mrs. Lipton, who helped with that trip as well, their school principal. On page 5, there is a essay contest opportunity for all high school students. That's recently came out, and it's being sponsored by the Virginia School Board Association. On page 6, we do have a middle school vaccination clinic that's going to be offered on April 24th. That's an opt-in vaccination clinic. We continue to have pre-K and kindergarten new student registration. We have an SAT coming up on April 25th. And if you look on page 7, save the date, we just received information that September 16th and 17th will be a remote area medical event at the new Westmoreland High School. The CPMT is currently taking survey feedback. They asked us to publish that in our message. And finally, on page 8, you can see the upcoming Resource Family Fun Fair, and that's on April 29th from 10 to 2. Mr. Long, you had asked for athletic schedules, and we included those in the back.
Thank you.
And I believe Ms. Booth has a couple of findings updates.
Good evening. Just wanted to let you know the school board met today, and they did vote to approve the budget as presented, and we look forward to sharing all of that information at our joint meeting next week.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Long?
No. Good job.
Brian?
I got a few.
Good job.
On page 11 on the report, 5 layers of school safety, the top part of emergency management. Have you reached out to Mr. Balderson over there to get some assistance? He is the emergency manager for the county.
Our new emergency manager. I can include him in our next safety meeting. We do have an upcoming safety meeting.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
he could help you a lot with having the Virginia Department of Emergency Management come and help with a lot of resources as
Absolutely.
well with your school safety.
And thank you, Mr. Brand, for that. We also have an upcoming training. It's for all personnel that we can invite him to as well. It's virtual.
And I've had some questions sent to me, so I want to relay them to you. If you don't mind, write them down. I'm not going to put you on the spot tonight.
Yes, sir.
But if you could have some answers the best you can for the joint meeting. First one is, how does the SOL scores compare to the surrounding counties for the past 2 years? Another part of that is have the test scores improved within our school system in the past 2 years. Another question is how much does it cost to educate a child in Northumberland County, and how does this compare to surrounding counties? And the last one that I got was, can any of the federal money, and I believe it's the ESSER funds, can be used to help fund the CIP projects?
Thank you for that, Mr. Brand.
Thank you.
And we'll bring the answers for you at next Wednesday's joint meeting.
Okay,
I appreciate that.
thank you.
Having more? All right, Mr. Thomas?
I don't have any.
Mr. Jett? All right, I don't have anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
All right, excuse me, next item would be the county administrator's report. Mr. Tadlock?
Yes, sir. For the month of March, we had 10 new structures, total construction cost of $5.3 million. Total construction cost year-to-date is $16.3 million, which is approximately $642,000 below this time last year. Next item I have is we have an appointment for the Economic Development Commission, Melissa Buns Carter for District 3. She is willing to serve again.
All right, motion to approve.
I move that we reappoint.
All right, we got a motion and a second.
Second it.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item I have is a supplemental appropriation to account number 3102-5805 for a tow bill in the amount of $150.
I move we approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I have another supplemental appropriation to account number 3102-1006 for ball games in the amount of $245.50.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item I have is regarding the hazard mitigation plan, which is updated every 5 years and is submitted to FEMA for approval. This process was done regionally through the Northern Neck Planning District Commission, and you have that plan in your packet. Along with that, you have a resolution that each jurisdiction needs to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Also in your packet is an invitation for bid for wood debris. It has been a while since we have put this out for bid, and we want to get the board's authorization to move forward in putting this out for bid.
So moved.
So me.
All right,
Second.
got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
And that bid does have the ability to perform the bid.
Correct.
I hope so.
Yes.
Hope so. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item, the board had asked the planning commission to review the by right use of service stations in B1, and the planning commission voted to leave service stations as a conditional use in B1, so they're sending that back to the board unchanged. If you have any questions,
Any board members have any questions?
I don't have a question. The problem is their zoning was not a comprehensive plan zoning. Some of it was in response to properties used, or they were zoned as used back in 1974. And by that, you may have some R1s, R2s, all those things mixed together. But I have a real problem with a piece of property that is zoned business can't have a service station as matter of right. But that's what's right now. And what I would do is I would make a motion that we ask the Planning Commission to review any and all uses per each zone to see whether it's one for a particular use to be appropriate in that zone. Whether it's this one or like the one that was withdrawn tonight. Look at the zone. Look at the comprehensive plan, look at the zone, and if you want to look at the surrounding zones, let's do it. But it needs to be a comprehensive. We can't remap the whole world. That would be you cause more trouble than it's worth. But I think we need to look at whether certain usage should be allowed by right, conditional use, or at all. But that's my motion, to have the whole thing reviewed. It's not expecting a quick answer now.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
You don't need a second.
So you ask them to review it. And then they can make what recommendations they feel for additions, deletions, or modifications back to us.
I'll second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? Any discussion? All right, if not,
Yeah. Is this gonna take place of the one we got in front of us now?
That's what I'm concerned about.
No.
No, that shouldn't.
No, this is all
Right.
anything that's been applied for under our current zoning. One, the planning commission has to make whatever action they do, and then we've got to make, either go along, modify, whatever. It will not affect anything.
Well, as long as it doesn't affect the one that we
I
have.
don't think that doesn't automatically make it if it's something applied for ahead of time.
Yeah, they're applied with the
I
zoning.
thought that all along too. I found it a month ago, it's not. Like if we change the zone, somebody had applied to flower kiting in the yard. If we do a ordinance where it's against the law, but they haven't started, do they come under then if they hadn't been approved?
They would, unless they can demonstrate some sort of vested right. In order to demonstrate a vested right, they would have to have relied upon some sort of governmental act, and then also typically made some sort of investment, some monetary investment of some sort, or taken action to move forward with the use under the prior zoning ordinance. But if they haven't, they have no vested right in the use, then they would have to comply with the new zoning ordinance.
That's what bothers me.
Well, if they got existing use by either being by right or by conditional use, if it were changed, they would be grandfathered by vested rights. So that's not a problem there, and
They're not grandfathered though, have they?
yes, they are.
Well, you would have, depending on the situation, you may have a legal
Yeah, that's a different
non-conforming
ballgame.
use, right? So if somebody, say, you're talking about gas stations, if somebody had a gas station and you changed the zoning on that property to no longer allow for a gas station, they would constitute a legal non-conforming use, because they would be non-conforming with the now approved zoning ordinance, but it would be a legal non-conforming use because it already existed prior to the amendment, right? Vested rights is similar but different in that someone obtains a vested right in a use most often when they have relied upon a governmental act, like the zoning administrator says, yes, that's conforming with the existing zoning ordinance. And then later there's some dispute about whether it's conforming. there was an overt governmental act saying that it was legal or it was compliant, so they relied upon that in good faith, and then they built the barn, or they built the gas station, or they hired engineers to design it and, had the land graded. If there's a combination of those factors, then they would have what's called a vested right.
Well, look, I can give a prime example. Right there at Reed Square. That used to be a gas station. It hasn't been used as such for, it's more than our non-conforming period of time. So they would possibly have to apply for conditional use to put back in a service station that had been there for many years. And given that, we all know what that area is like. So I can use that as an example. But that still nothing's being changed other than to review. And then if they make recommendations, then the board would move forward with whatever after a public hearing.
All right. Mr. Tomlin, restate your motion just one more time, please.
Asking the planning commission to review all uses in all zones by right, conditional use, or not at all. Because some uses are not permitted, whether they should be continued to be denied, or whether they could possibly add it as conditional use, etc. In other words, what should be allowed based upon the definition of the zone itself, the comprehensive plan, etc.
All right. Thank you. Any other discussion? No other discussion? All right. No other discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. Mr. Tadlock, you have anything else?
Next item I have is, previously the board had received a private solar request to exceed what is permitted by the county's current zoning ordinance. And the board had requested additional information, and we'd gotten that information to the board. So I don't know how basically in order for that to be changed, it would have to be sent to the planning commission for the zoning ordinance review and public hearing held at that level and then sent back to the board. So I don't know how the board wishes to proceed, if you just want to send it back to the planning commission, or if you want to leave that language as is.
But what the request is asking to exceed what the state allows. Is that correct?
It's requesting to exceed what our current zoning ordinance, county zoning ordinance.
But we're following what the state has.
If it goes above that, I believe they cannot be connected to the grid at that point. But I would have to get some additional information on that.
I would say we send it back to the planning commission and let them do some more work. You need that in the form of a motion on it. Yeah. I move that we send it back to the planning commission for additional.
All right, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
My only concern is how do you guarantee they're not going to wire it back into the grid?
Well,
I don't want our linemen with either Dominion or Northern Neck to get fried.
and I agree with you on that 100%. But I think this whole project has had some lack of communication. First of all, we've never heard entirely about the whole project from the landowner. So we are assuming.
He spoke that one night in his written letters.
But it was not in detail on what he's got.
Wants to go more than 25,000 kilowatts.
Right. But also, it's two extra panels. and he does have a switch, and it is not going back into the system.
He might not, but I worry about another owner.
I understand. I got you, and I understand.
I understand your motion.
Motion on the floor.
Okay, I understand.
All right, any other discussion? Right now, we are 25 kW only.
Correct.
And the state says their limit is 25 unless you go, you have to abandon the power company, don't you?
I believe anything over that, that amount, you cannot be connected to the grid.
All right, so I guess the applicant would have to make the choice to disconnect from the grid then.
But then what are we doing to a future owner who buys this? You're putting them into place to have to pay the money to then hook back up and dismantle the connection.
Yeah, good point there.
I think if we're letting this go before the planning commission, we'll see what the planning commission recommends and bring it back.
Right.
That's a motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor. Let it go back.
All right, any other discussion?
I normally don't have a problem sending anything to the planning commission, but I am too much concerned about the safety of our linemen, and a future owner don't want to limit their options, because not everybody wants to be off the grid. So I'm going to vote no solely because of that.
Okay.
Mr. Malloy, I see you're here tonight. I'll let you say a couple words real quick.
Thanks. I just want to assure you that there's no possibility of danger to the linemen. There's actually equipment that limits how much goes to the grid. So it's automatically, I mean, there's actually systems throughout the state that are over 25, but because the state law says Dominion only allows 25, that's all that the equipment will allow to pass through. The rest of it goes to my house. So it's not like all that could go to the grid. There's actually hardware that limits that. So it really would not be of any danger to a lineman.
I know people move or go around systems too. Not saying you, but I've got, anyway.
Anyway.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who's this gentleman with?
Himself.
This is the owner.
Huh?
This is the owner,
Owner of what?
owner of the solar project.
Oh.
Well, it's my house, and I just happen to have solar panels there, and I just want to get enough so I can get closer to what I need. Thank you.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
But, restate the motion completely for now.
All right,
You got it written down, Luttrell?
So basically what the board is asking the planning commission to review the private solar definition, because it limits that to 25 kilowatts currently. And what the board, as far as I can tell, is asking the planning commission whether or not we want to expand that to a larger amount to allow citizens or private homeowners, not commercial, but these are private residences, to be able to have larger solar equipment.
And set number larger.
Oh, that would be something I guess the planning commission could discuss as far as a cap on that.
Okay.
all right, motion clear? All right, no other discussion or anything? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against?
Nay.
All right, passes 4-1.
Next item I have is just an update. We have been in discussions with Davenport about a fund balance policy, and this came about during our discussions with Moody's during the rating discussions. Like I said, we've been talking to Davenport, and they're putting together a draft policy, and we hope to have that to the board at the next board meeting. Also wanted to let you know that Sheriff Beecham had sent out some additional information on updates for the regional radio system. I don't know if you have any specific questions or how you all would like to proceed.
Sheriff Beecham, you have any comments?
Ready to go.
What would be the next step to proceed?
Basically, I think what you would need to look at next would be the funding options. And you could look at getting Davenport to move forward in bidding out that cost to the different banks and see what rates would come back. That would not obligate the board in any way, but that would start looking at funding options. I know we've gotten the update on the microwave system in the L3 Harris. I don't know, do you know if there's any update as far as the regional cost? Is that pretty, there shouldn't be any updates to that? Correct?
No, regional costs are the same. So the
Okay.
initial 20,000 per site.
Okay.
And then it's 20,000 total per year from year 2 on, unless they vote to change it.
Okay. So, no, that would be the next step that I would think would be to get, like I said, we've been in talks with Davenport about funding options, but to get them to look at or put out for bid this amount and see what rates we do get back. So.
I move we authorize Davenport to seek bids on what kind of interest rates we can get.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 4-1.
All right, there again, that does not obligate the board in any way. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Tadlock. The next item would be the approval of the check register. Hope everyone's
So
had
moved.
time to review it.
So moved.
All right, got a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, got a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Next is board comments. Start with you, Mr. Long.
Mr. Tadlock, what's the update on the property we bought from the school board, the old school board office?
We have secured that property. That is the county property now.
Okay.
Have anything else?
That's it.
You have anything else,
No,
Mr. Long?
that's it
All right,
right now.
Mr. Bryant?
I'm getting old, so I don't know if I've already made this comment or not, but I may be repeating myself, but if I am, I am.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, thank you. I attended the VOTEC open house, and I was very impressed with the teachers in the classes that they have offered there. And all the counties offer a lot of resources in that program: electrical, marine, welding, carpentry. And for the kids that don't want to go to college, they really need to steer them in the direction of the trade school. It is a really good program. I was very impressed with how they had it set up. And definitely the attitudes and the smiles that you got from the instructors that were there. That's all I got.
I agree.
All right, Mr. Tomlin?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion for a resolution, but I want to read what the governor did. And this is Animal Care and Control Appreciation Week. And I would say Officer Control Week. Whereas the National Animal Care and Control Association is committed to the setting the standard of professionalism, animal welfare, and public safety through training, networking, and advocacy. And whereas animal care and control professionals dedicate their lives to the health and safety of at-risk and helpless animals, and whereas animal care and control professionals work to rescue, protect animals from injury, disease, abuse, and starvation, whereas the National Animal Care Association has designated the second full week of April as Animal Care and Control Officer Appreciation Week, and whereas federal, state, and local government officials throughout the nation take this time to recognize, thank, and commend all animal care and control professionals for the dedicated service they perform in fulfilling the commitment to providing the highest and most efficient level of service. And the governor declared the week of April the 9th to the 15th as Animal Care and Control Appreciation Week, and asked the citizens to attend. And I would move that we make a resolution making the changes appropriate to Northumberland County, and especially in light of what the animal care and control officers did very recently with those animals there in the Burgess area. So I would so move that we do an appropriate resolution following the governor's template.
All right, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, thank you, Mr. Thomas.
You can let the sheriff, you can let your animal control officer know he's getting a resolution.
We could also include it's animal control or animal care and control. We can't forget the workers at the shelter.
Include shelter in that too.
The one day the animal control was there was very tough. The workers at the shelter have dealt with it since then. So I don't want to leave those employees out.
I've seen what the judge did, and I saw the fees that were requested.
We're still in the appeal window
Yeah,
until next week, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. It's a hefty bill.
Still what, sir?
In the appeal window from the lower court decision. So we should be out of that window next week, and we'll see if it's been appealed or not.
But if they wish to appeal, they've got to put a hefty appeal bond in too,
That
equal
was-
to the amount of.
That was part of the decision.
Yes,
So, thank you.
20,000 blows.
All right.
I would move, if you need a motion to amend it to include the animal shelter workers, I would so move.
I was going to
Second.
ask you if you want to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Same second? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Now, that's everything for now. The next item would be we need to convene into a closed meeting. Mr. Tadlock, do you have the appropriate wordage?
Yes, sir. I need a motion from the board that the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors convene in a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2, 3711A1, for the discussion and consideration of personnel matters, Section 2.2, 3711A8, for consultation with legal counsel pertaining to specific legal matters, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the board's negotiating or litigating posture. Section 2.2, 3711A29, discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders, offers, and discussion of the terms or scope of such a contract, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Invited to attend the closed meeting as necessary are the county administrator, assistant county administrator, and county attorney, because they are deemed necessary and their presence will reasonably aid the board in its consideration of the topics to be discussed pursuant to Virginia FOIA Section 2.2, 3712F.
All right, I will accept the motion.
So move.
All right, how about a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those say aye. Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to convene in a closed meeting. We'll be going into the next room.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back to the meeting here. We've been in closed meeting. I will need a motion now to come out of closed meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Have a motion and a second. Now, it's going to be a roll call vote. Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Brand?
Aye.
Mr. Tomlin?
I certify we didn't discuss anything in closed meeting for which we're not
Yeah.
authorized to do so.
Thank you. All right. Start back over. Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Tomlin? Mr. Brand? Mr. Tomlin?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
we need
You want to read that? before
Yes,
we-
sir.
All right, go ahead. Let's just
I
start
need a
over.
motion that the Northumberland Board of Supervisors return to public meeting and certify by roll call vote that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting.
All right. Now we'll start back over. All right, Mr. Long?
Aye.
So moved.
Second it.
All right, you got a second. We got a motion, a second, to proper language this time. All right, Mr. Long, Mr. Brand,
Aye.
Mr. Tomlin,
Aye.
Mr. Jett, Mr. Haney, aye. All right, we out of closed meeting now. All right, our next item on our list tonight is public comments. I only have one person signed up tonight, and that's Lynn Stewart. Public, one thing I'll say tonight, anyone speaking tonight, you have 4 minutes to speak.
I'm not going to take that long.
All right.
A year or so ago, I was up here and suggested that we do an audit of the school board books. The county auditors found that there were some issues with the operating procedures, but specifically mentioned that they weren't getting down into the nitty-gritty detail of what was actually on the books. I took a look at the June vendor report from last year, which indicated total checks of $325,000. And I kept looking at vendor reports. In August, the report published on 8/4/22, there was another $300,000 of June checks reported. So the total checks weren't $325,000, they were $608,000 for the month of June of last year. We were told during the budget process that the pay-meringue system, the contract that was signed by the school board, was going to alleviate the need for additional personnel, and it was going to streamline the system, and it was going to give great reports. What I found, though, basically, is that it's not necessarily being used. I pulled the report from the press release on February 13th, which was the January 2023 check register, which specifically stated that it was pay-meringue payments, but at the bottom of it were EVB bank checks written. This was the first report that I had actually seen where the pay-meringue system showed up. And based on the check numbers, the majority of the checks that have been written, at least that I have seen, I haven't seen all of them, are EVB checks, not through the pay-meringue system. Why do we have a contract if we're not using it? Why are we having June checks reported in an August report? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm not alleging that there's wrongdoing, but what I am alleging is that it doesn't pass the smell test as a citizen looking at these numbers. It just doesn't seem right. I have only to date found 1 month where all that's shown is that month's checks. And that was, I think, February of this year. I didn't bring it with me. There needs to be an audit of the books. There needs to be a deep dive, not just into the operating procedure, but into how these monies are allocated. If you look at the expense report at the end of June of last year, you will see specific line items that were overspent by 458%. You will also see line items that have been that have only used 30% of the allocation. What you will see is a $900,000 expense that had zero money allocated for it. How does that happen? How does it happen that in the last month of the fiscal year, a $900,000 expense shows up and there wasn't a penny allocated for it? How does it happen? And why? And why? I can tell you that in one of these reports, the total expenditure for Amazon credit card and Visa credit card for 2 months was $53,000. What does that account for? What's in that account? Are those monies moved to where they're supposed to be? One of the Amazon credit card line items indicated a program called CTOP 2, and it was on the Amazon credit card. I went to Amazon, like any good snoop would do, and looked up how it was an $8,200 check to Amazon credit. I looked up the program that was on the note line. The most expensive version of that CTOP 2, which is a phonetics program, I could find was $800, not $8,000. So what else was on that invoice, and was it allocated where it was supposed to be? Was that CTOP allocated to learning materials or teaching materials, or does it just stay in the Amazon credit account? We don't know these things as citizens, and we should know those things as citizens. And to the extent that an audit isn't done and these things aren't cleared up, everyone here and everyone on the school board is still on the firing line as far as I'm concerned. Citizens deserve transparency, and we deserve to have answers, and those answers, I'm not a forensic anything. I'm not an accountant, I'm just a snoop. We need an accountant who knows what to look for and how to look for it, to look, give us the answers, and then come back with recommendations on how to make sure it doesn't happen again. $1 million in the last month of the fiscal year is baloney. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I don't have anyone else on the sign-up sheet, but would anyone else like to comment? Anyone else like to comment tonight? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to comment? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to comment tonight? Got anybody?
Yes, Julie Deeper would like to.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I am in agreement with the zoning things coming up for discussion tonight. My only comment is that being that the R2.
Ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am,
Yes, sir.
you cannot talk about any of the public hearings tonight in the public comment. You can talk about that at the time of the hearing, or you can talk about anything else that you want to talk about now.
I'll wait till the public hearing then. Thank you.
Yes,
very much.
ma'am. Thank you. All right, anyone else in the virtual world like to speak? Got anybody else? All right. All right, we don't have anyone else to speak, so I will close the public hearings, and we will start on our public comment, and we'll start on our public hearings. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our first one tonight was a one by the Y cap, by the new Y cap, and that has been withdrawn. So our second one tonight is a request by Max Shestovia. I hope I got that right, or somewhere near. And Philip, I'll let you take care of that.
Sure. We have a request by Maxim and Jelena, owners, for a conditional use permit to allow a restaurant, coffee and sandwich shop on property zone A1 agricultural. Property is shown as tax map parcel 26-1-111A, and is located at 13039 Northumberland Highway.
All right, anyone here tonight? Come on up, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Galina Shustovska, and my husband, Maxim Shustovsky. We are the owners of 13039 Northumberland Highway. It's a building maybe better known for everyone as a former jeans bargain center. We are planning to renovate the building and convert it into a coffee shop, and to focus mostly on breakfasts and lunches for the community, making fresh coffee, tea, and also make a bakery, offer fresh artisan bread, pastries, and fresh juices, ice cream, sandwiches, salads, and so on. So we're also planning to work with local farmers, and we think that it's going to be a very good place for the community to enjoy each other and meet with friends and family.
All right. Anything else you want to comment on this issue right now? All right. Any board members have any questions?
Not at this time, for me.
Not at this time?
Do
All
you,
right.
do you own just where Jean's Bargain Center used to be, or do you also own the house too?
Own the both, the brick house and the...
Gotcha. I thought they were one, but just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other board member have any comments or questions?
Handicap accessible, that's got to comply.
Got to comply.
Yeah, that'll have to be done. All right. We will have, we'll have the public hearing here now. So after we have the public hearing, there'll probably be some more comments for you.
All right.
All right. Thank you. All right. I'll open the public hearing tonight. I have no one on the sign-up sheet that wants to speak. Anybody here tonight would like to speak?
I will.
Yes, please.
Hi, Jennifer Lukritz, and I'm in the Reedville area, and I support that. We have nothing in that area as far as breakfast and that kind of thing, and I think it'd be great.
Right.
So, that's all I...
All right. Anyone else like to speak?
I'll take up where Ron left off. I support these folks. I've never met them before. I don't know who they are, but something like that. We really don't have a good breakfast shop that you can go in and grab a sandwich, some coffee, and that type of thing. And I think it'd be a great idea. I'd like to see some new folks moving to the county, too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else like to speak? All right. Anyone in the virtual world like to speak tonight? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak tonight? Got anybody? All right. Since we don't have anyone else that wants to speak, I will close the public hearing and the matter is before the board.
I'm on.
I move that we grant this request.
I second it.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
What condition?
Conditions?
Conditions, that's right.
Conditions,
Sorry.
Philip?
The suggested conditions, if approved, are that all required permits and/or licenses shall be obtained from all appropriate regulatory agencies, including but not limited to the Virginia Department of Health and Virginia Department of Transportation. The building shall comply with the Uniform Statewide Building Code. Any proposed lighting shall be non-reflective and directed downward, and any proposed signage shall comply with the zoning ordinance.
I have two questions, Mr. Marston. Do you have any feel for what VDOT might require as far as the entrance? Would they be able to get away with what they got, or are they going to have a taper?
That discussion has not begun because they're gonna want a design first, which is gonna cost some money. But off the top of my head, I would think it'd be a low-volume commercial entrance that would have to be constructed.
But VDOT by itself can kill many a business by that. And to answer Mr. Brand's question, would the building have to comply with ADA as far as the entrance and doors and stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought, just want to make sure. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We have a motion and a second with the conditions. Yes. Yes, please. Tommy, would you read that language?
Yeah, I gotta find it first.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Long made the motion. I'll amend his motion to include, this motion is made in due consideration of the public health and safety, the general welfare of the community, public necessity, convenience, and in the exercise of good zoning practices and in pursuant to the body's statutory authority. So I include that as an amendment to Mr. Long's motion.
It's all right for you, Mr. Long?
Yes.
All right. Now, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Everything passes. Ma'am, your application has passed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
This is the easy part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't kill it.
All right, our next public hearing is a repeal of the Northumberland County Code, Chapter 72, firearms. Mr. Tadlock, will let you take over on that.
Yes, sir. That was kind of the gist of it. It is the repeal of the Northumberland County Code, Chapter 72, Firearms, Article 2, Section 72-4, Transport or Possession of Loaded Shotgun or Rifle, 72-5, Exceptions, and 72-6, Violations and Penalties, which would remove local prohibitions against carrying a loaded shotgun or rifle in any vehicle on any public street, road, or highway within Northumberland County. This would also remove any exceptions and violations associated with the removal of Section 72-4. The board did receive 2 letters of correspondence regarding this matter.
All right, board have any comments before I open the public hearing? No comments from the board?
Just to add to it, I suggested this for changes. The Game and Inland Fisheries Department of Conservation now.
Wildlife Resources.
Wildlife, anyway. They changed it, we feel like in the last few years. This year was the first year, their interpretation of a loaded gun. It had always been in Northumberland for 25, 30 years. If it was not in the chamber, it was not a loaded gun. And then they changed it this year, where if it was in the magazine, paused in the magazine, or anywhere attached to the gun, it was considered loaded. So this kind of, I feel like it backed us into a corner to have one way or lose what we had. But that was my reasoning for this. And to have boys that been asking for this for a couple of years, because Richmond County and Lancaster County both allow it, always, I don't have it always, but have in the years past. This made it hard on the ones nowhere close to the county line. They were back and forth, you know, in one county and then the other. They've been requesting this for 3 or 4 years. But then, that's all I have, Sharon, right now.
All right, anyone else have any comments? All right, if not, I will open the public hearing on this tonight. The first one on the sign-up sheet is Wayne Harding.
How are y'all today?
Fine.
All right.
Most of y'all know me. I've been hunting all my life. And we have a lot of young kids that are hunting now in all clubs, not just ours. And to me, it's much safer to have a loaded gun sitting and not being handled than it is to unload a gun 10 or 12 times a day. And especially with kids, it's very dangerous. And just like Mr. Jett said, Lancaster County and all the counties surrounding Northumberland have the law where they can have their guns loaded. And we do hunt on the line, like you said. And 1 minute you'll be in Lancaster County, the next minute you'll be in Northumberland County. So that's, you know, you're unloading here, you're keeping it loaded there. Next thing you know, the game warden stopped you and you got a loaded gun where you're not supposed to have it. And I brought 3 shells to show y'all. I wish y'all would look at them. Johnny Beecham has them. And I wish he'd let him bring them up and show you where I took those shells, and this year there's only 3 I used. And you'll see it, where I've unloaded it and loaded it so many times that it's got grooves on the side of it where I would not use them next year. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that has that problem. So if y'all would like to see those shells, I would like for him to bring them up and show them to you.
Sheriff Beecham?
This is what you're talking about, these marks on the grass.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of unloading he's doing.
Yeah, Denton brass up, isn't it? Scoring there, yeah.
I've seen plenty of them. Yeah, I've seen plenty of them.
Well, anyway, that's, you know, you have a shell like that. One of these days, you're gonna unload that thing and it's gonna go off. And it's just much safer to leave the gun loaded, especially with the kids. And it's not only kids, it's grown-ups too. But anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the next person is James Hudnall.
Good evening, my name is James Hudnall, and I've been hunting in Northumberland County for 53 years, and 52 of those 53 years, we were always allowed, as Mr. Jett said, to keep 2 shells in the magazine. And we didn't have any shells in the chamber, that was a law. And I was just curious why it was interpreted. Was it the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries that changed the interpretation, or was it Commonwealth's attorney in the county?
They started interpreting it wrong, different, not wrong.
Changed it, okay.
And the Commonwealth seemed to agree with it.
Department. Game and Inland Fisheries, yeah. I am a licensed NRA shotgun instructor, and there is a period of danger anytime you load and unload a shotgun. I have seen a Savage pump gun that was being cycled. It was being closed, and the gun actually discharged, and it was on the safe. It didn't make sense. I don't know why it happened. I was a young fellow when it happened, and the gun just happened to be pointed in a safe direction. Nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. But it's always a period of liability anytime that you load and unload a shotgun, like Wayne said, Mr. Harden said, sometimes 10 to 15, 20 times a day. And it can create a dangerous and unsafe condition, I feel like. So, and that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. I don't have anyone else signed up tonight, but would anyone else like to speak on this issue? Come on up, sir.
Hi, my name is Gary Reed, and for years, we've been practicing safe hunting even before we come out to go hunting. We talk about being safe. I agree with Wayne as far as changing, because I've seen it happen. From changing that shell back and forth, eventually it blew a breech out of a gun. When that happens, that's very much unsafe. And I think really the gun should be, stay loaded with the safety mechanism on or the safety switch on. I think it's, a good thing to practice that, which we've had done every time before we go out to hunt. It's over the years, it's an enjoyment to hunt. Like I say, from a little boy up from 16 and up, I've always practiced safe hunting. And I enjoy seeing other people out here. I hunt with Wayne, and he's a great guy. And what he says is true. And like I said, what happened to that gun I've seen actually blew the breech out from changing that shell both back and forth. So, I think it's a bad thing to actually unload that gun several times, to keep that like that. I don't want to see anybody get hurt either. That's why we practice our safe hunting. That's why we go take these classes so that our kids can be safe, and know exactly what to do. I've been all over. I've been out in Montana, you name it. And I've hunted. I had no problem. But I always practice safe hunting. And this is what we are about. If I can say, I think it's wrong to travel with an unloaded gun when you're out there. It's all right to keep it down in the lower part, but to keep it in the barrel, no. I think we should just consider keeping it that way. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Yeah, my name is Jimmy Moore. Don't hunt, never have wanted to. But I do believe that each county, like this guy says he goes from one county to another county, they ought to be the same laws. You can't have it from this county, you can't have it all the way across the state. It makes common sense. Because if you go from this county and you can have it, and like you said, he forgets it, a cop pulls him, somebody pulls him, he's got a loaded gun, and he's gonna get a ticket. Be consistent from one county to the next county. Everything should be all tied together. It works a whole lot better. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak tonight?
Good evening. My name is Lornell Carter. On behalf of that loading and unloading, and you straddling from county to county, right there on that line, it is very dangerous, especially when you're hunting with dogs, and you hear the dogs coming, you know the deer is in front of that dog, and you get out there, and you're trying to get over it, make sure you're in the proper place, and then you try to load your gun, and you look, there's a deer. By the time you get your gun loaded, they're gone. You're rushing, you're shaking, you're trembling because of excitement. And that right there puts us at danger. Because of the excitement you've got to take. There's a big buck. I ain't got no one this year. I want that buck. I would like to get that buck right there in my face, but here it is. I'm trembling, rushing to try to get that and may cause an accident. And like you said about those shells, like that, and with them ridges in there, that shell will split after a while. From time after time, I check the in and out. And, like I said, Lancaster County, Richmond County, Westmoreland, we all connect with Northumberland at some point, and we have hunters that go back and forth. we hunt together. And it would be better, like the man said, that doesn't hunt, if everybody was on one accord. And it would be for our best interest. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. All right, would anyone else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak tonight? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak tonight? Got nobody? All right. Since we have no one else speaking, I'm going to close the public hearing and the matter is before the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we repeal the firearms chapter, section 72.5, 72.4, 72.6, 72-6. If that was properly stated.
Okay.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this?
Yes, I'm going to vote against it. The problem is the game department, Department of Wildlife Resources, whatever you want to call them, you can call them conservation police officer, game warden. They caused this problem. It was not a problem as long as the definition was loaded in the magazine. But once they said it was in the magazine, even if it wasn't in the chamber, but I view this solely one of safety to the individuals in a vehicle themselves. For a while, I was a hunter safety instructor, and one of the things we got was the annual report of hunting accidents. And every so often, they'd have an accident where somebody had shot a hole in the floorboard, or unfortunately getting out the rack because it was loaded and the safety was off, they shot and wounded or killed somebody in the vehicle. So I understand about uniformity, but if you ever watch Animal Planet, you have the various laws, Louisiana laws, Lone Star law, Northwest law, and Northeast law, whatever. Read the regulations. There's regulations, there's no uniformity in any regulation for hunting or fishing, for that matter, in the state of Virginia or most states. But I view this as one of safety. That's all there is. If the game department had done this change, or their definition, not ours. Our definition has always been, if it was not in the chamber, it was unloaded and not a violation. I mean, they made this problem what it is. But still, I view it as a safety reason to have a loaded firearm, because the best safety there is your head.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tom. Anyone else like to speak? All right, no other comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
All right, passes 4-1. All right, next item is an amendment of the Northumberland County Code, Chapter 72, Firearms. Mr. Tadlock?
Yes, sir. Amendment of Northumberland County Code, Chapter 72, Firearms, Article 3, Section 72-7, Unlawful Possession. And basically what this is to do is to update the statutory reference from a repealed state statute to Virginia Code Section 15.2-1209.1.
All right, and what would that statute actually say in there?
It's in your thing.
It's basically updating that code section in 72-7 from 18.2-287 to the correct code section of 15.2-1209.1.
So it's reverse what we just did.
Yeah. No. Reverse of what we just did.
No. No, wait.
All right.
Yeah. This is a separate code section.
So this would be as to the person carrying the firearm, is that right? So by allowing them The previous action would allow them to ride up and down the road with a loaded shotgun, but they couldn't then walk in the road with a loaded shotgun. Is that the way it works?
Well, according to what the,
What's
what's the
an inconsistency?
lieutenant that I talked to, his name, I can't even pronounce his name, the lieutenant with DWR, Game on Deal Code. He said they did not foresee walking across the road as hunting. He said if you stand in the road with your gun up to your shoulder, that might be considered hunting, but just getting one side of the road to the other was not considered hunting, was his statement to me.
Their definitions apparently looked interesting. But this one would just say whether they're hunting or not. And this doesn't go to specifically shotguns, rifles, or pistols would be covered by this one. Am I reading that wrong? Because this one does not include, like the other one, which was specific as to shotguns and rifles.
Mr. Gregory, you have a comment on this?
I think the language in the ordinance speaks for itself. It just says pursuant to, as proposed to be amended, it says pursuant to section 15.2-1209.1 of the Code of Virginia, it shall be unlawful for any person to carry it or have in his or her possession, while on any part of a public highway within Northumberland County, a loaded firearm when such person is not authorized to hunt on private property on both sides of the highway along which he or she is standing or walking. And there is an exception in the following section 72-8. The provision of this article shall not apply to persons carrying loaded firearms in moving vehicles, nor to persons acting at the time in defense of persons or property. And then the following section has the violations and penalties. But the only amendment is to change the state code reference to refer to the new code section that grants this authority.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gregory.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments from the board?
Does this have any exception for someone having a valid concealed weapon permit? Doesn't say it.
Gregory, you want to comment on that?
It does not.
All right, any other comments? If not, I will open the public hearing on this. I have no one on the sign-up sheet to speak tonight. Would anyone like to speak tonight? Come on up, sir, if you want to speak, or ma'am, whoever's first.
That's right.
Just a clarification, so
Good luck.
6 a.m. in the morning, I go out for my morning walk, like I normally do, in a desolate road, and I got my gun on my hip. And they're saying that's unlawful, that I can't do that, so I gotta leave that home and take a chance at getting raped or anything else. Is that my understanding?
That's the way I understand it, but let Mr. Gregory comment on that.
My response would be this is the same ordinance that has been on the books in the county for I don't know how long. The direction that the board gave me at the last meeting was to provide an amendment for the code to update the code section reference, which we have done, as I explained at the last board meeting. The code section referenced as the ordinance is currently written is to 18.2-287. That was prior state code. That code section was repealed and replaced by 15.2-1209.1, which authorized local governing bodies to have such ordinances. So you directed me to update the code to provide the proper reference to the updated code section. That's what we've done. But the ordinance is not a new ordinance.
Okay, because it has come up where a dog almost got attacked, and luckily, you know, the person called it away. You know, otherwise, because we don't have a leash law, or as far as I knew back then, a year ago we didn't, and they said, you have every right to shoot the dog if he attacked you. So if I had nothing to defend myself, you know, okay.
I understand your point. All right, anyone else like to speak?
However, in her case, there would be an exception if you were in defense of your personal property.
Yeah, but you're walking down the road.
Until you defend yourself, you're in trouble.
Yes,
Yeah. there you go.
gotcha.
But that's the way it was before, just read
Yeah, I
it.
know, but we never had the issue
That's
because.
the same thing, I mean,
But we
that's
never
not-
had the issue because you had the prohibition in the vehicle.
My name is James. I couldn't hear all of your conversation, but it sounds like me, this is striking down the validity of a concealed weapon permit. You can't have a loaded pistol anywhere, in a highway or in a vehicle.
No, I don't believe it would do that, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Same thing, if you have a concealed weapons permit by right, you're
Yeah,
supposed to be able to walk down the road.
It says they're exempted
There's
most
certain areas
places
you
in
can
the
have them.
This ordinance, Mr. Chairman, if you want me to respond to that, I can.
Yes, sir, I do.
This ordinance does not reference a concealed carry permit.
Right.
I think it's.
If you have a concealed carry permit that's valid under state law, I believe that would probably be an exception to this. I don't believe that would.
In relation to that, if you have a concealed carry permit, can't you have a loaded shotgun or rifle as well? That's a weapon.
I don't.
It doesn't say a concealed pistol permit, it says a concealed weapons permit.
Well, it's hard to conceal a shotgun.
Yeah.
At least the ones I've hunted with.
I was just curious, and in relation to this lady's question, we have a lot of coyotes in Northumberland County as well. In some areas, it's a lot of coyotes, and they can be a danger to people that are walking in the morning. A lot of people walk early in the morning. That's when coyotes are moving around. And yeah, she certainly ought to have a right to protect herself. So, but that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
I promise you, I wasn't going to talk tonight.
You broke it.
I did. I was not aware that there was such ambiguity in the local ordinances with regard to carrying sidearms. And it sounds like there is. Whether you've got a permit to carry concealed, that's what the permit's for, or you got one strapped on your belt like this lady's talking about, until you use it, you're breaking the law according to this thing, as I understand it. But if you use it, you're going to go to court. Guaranteed. Nobody fires a bullet against something else without having to pay a consequence for it. If I'm mistaken, please speak up and correct me. But if I'm not mistaken, that entire thing needs to be gone. I don't care about the references. If the outcome of the thing is that you can't carry, it doesn't belong there. And again, you all know that I'm a little bit bent when it comes to the Constitution, but let's get serious here. This ambiguity can't happen. I'm done.
Thank you. All right, anyone else like to speak?
Concealed carry, I think. It's talking about if they don't.
What we're doing is, my name is Kirk Olson. What we're doing, we're putting three different things all into one, and it isn't. One, you're talking about hunting. One of them, you're talking about concealed carry. And one of them, you're talking about open carry. Three entirely different things, and we're trying to roll them all into one. We got to stop that. If you want to talk about hunting, let's talk about hunting. You want to talk about concealed carry, let's talk about concealed carry. You want to talk about open carry, that's your right. But let's separate these things. Don't try to put them all into one stack and say this is it, because it's not. That's all I got to say, Rich.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Come on up.
Short, sweet, and to the point. Linda Herring. I walk my dog. My house is surrounded, as you well know, by woods. And I carry a pistol because I see coyotes. And I'll continue to do so. And it is loaded, I will assure you. No bird seed. Okay? I'll continue to carry it. And I would appreciate it, you know, we laugh and giggle, but I'd appreciate it if you guys would think long and hard about this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak? I'm glad you stepped up because I was getting ready to call you.
I saw you.
I want to see the exception.
So 15.2-1209.1 references hunting all through it. It references nothing about open carry, nothing about me putting my AR-15 on my chest and walking down the highway. You just can't hunt with it.
Right.
So all that is by the wayside. What I'm reading is completely about hunting.
That's correct.
So I just want to clear that up, what I'm reading.
There you go. Thank you, Sheriff.
So you're welcome.
All right.
Is it answered any question?
What was that
Answers a
number?
lot of
What was that
questions.
again?
Code section 50.2-1209.1. So that's 15.2-1209.1. And that authorizes the county to regulate carrying of loaded firearms on public highways. But if you read through the code section, it's referencing during hunting.
Well, that's the problem. It is the first. It's like got a comma, and that's the question. It says pursuant to the code section, it shall be unlawful for any person to carry or have in his or her possession while on any part of the public highway within Northumberland County, comma, a loaded firearm when such person is not authorized to hunt on both sides of the road.
But if you read the state code, it's not in the county code where it says comma, for the purpose of hunting, comma, and then it goes back into while on any part of the public highway. So the way I read this 3 or 4 times, and I could be wrong, it's all about hunting.
I'm not going to say you're wrong on this one by any stretch of the imagination. I just want to make sure people have a right to walk up and down the road to protect themselves or whatever.
The way I read this is they do. And then the county may regulate hunting. It doesn't say it has to. But that's just my take on it.
I got a question for Eric. What this gentleman said is right. Why is this even needed at all now that we have approved loaded guns on the highway?
That's what I'm saying.
I believe the previous code section deals with traveling vehicles on the highways, whether they're loaded or not. The other one, this 72-7 and 72-8 and 72-9 refer to unlawful possession on the highways.
But if you have a carry permit, you can carry it anyway, loaded on the highway.
If you have a carry permit, I believe so. But this is, as the sheriff mentioned, this is about hunting from the road without permit. If you don't have permission to hunt on the properties adjacent to
I think if it refers to hunting, it needs to specify that in that, because right now it's too broad. It's too much in it to assume.
But then again, even if it's properly including hunting only, the person by the previous action can ride a loaded firearm, a loaded shotgun rifle up and down the roads, but then they can't walk up and down the roads.
It does reference in the language that's currently in place, and the only thing being considered is the update of that code section, because 18.2-287 has been repealed. So all this is doing, we're not considering the language. The language is staying the same. And in that, it has pursuant to the 15.2-1209.1 of the Code of Virginia, it shall be unlawful for any person to carry or have in his or her possession while on any part of a public highway within Northumberland County a loaded firearm when such person is not authorized to hunt on private property on both sides of the highway along which he or she is standing or walking. So it does reference the hunting.
And I will, just to follow up Mr. Tadlock's comment, 15.2, Virginia Code Section 15.2-1209 addresses this conduct for purposes of hunting, for the purpose of hunting. So if you're carrying a pistol to protect yourself from coyotes, this would not prohibit that. If you're carrying a pistol to protect yourself from some other threat, this would not apply to you. It only applies in the context of hunting.
Well, I think the language which was omitted from the Code of Virginia is right after in his or her possession, comma, for the purposes of a hunting, comma. That's in the Code of Virginia, which is not in our ordinance as adopted and as proposed.
But it references the
But
code.
that's as to the part of owning or having permission on both sides of the road, which is included in the Code of Virginia section.
I believe the state code section that was just is cited in the local ordinance is incorporated by reference. So it would also, because it says pursuant to for 15.2-1209.1. So pursuant to that authority, in relation to that authority, this is the ordinance then proceeds to go on. But it is pursuant to that authority and therefore incorporated by reference.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. Anyone else like to speak tonight?
Can I ask one question?
Ask away.
Come on up to the microphone.
Because I'm a little puzzled about this. So when hunting, say that I'm parked on one side of the road. Say I'm parked, but we're hunting on the opposite side. And I'm not saying I'm getting out with a loaded gun. I'm getting out with an unloaded gun. So I'm breaking the law by crossing the road with that gun?
No.
Is that what I'm understanding, or
No.
did I misunderstand that?
No, you're not. You're not, that's not considered hunting until you get on the other side of the road and start. Is that right, Mr.
I
Jeff?
just want to make, I want to be understood.
Well, unloaded, you're generally safe all the time.
All right, would anyone else like to speak? Come on up, sir.
Hello, my name is Danny Carlson. Been hunting my whole life. I think the main issue that our clubs are having, we want youth to hunt. We're trying to teach them how to hunt. Now, I'm going to use, for example, I got a guest with me, this lady's daughter or son that never hunts, and we would like to take kids hunting with us. Now, we cross the ditch, they load their gun, they come back from the spot that we legally can hunt to the tar road. This young person, 10, 11, 12 years old, had this safety course. He's standing on the side of the road, the truck's on the other side of the road. That youth is unloading that gun. That's where it's a safety issue. He is now a youth, he's got his gun like this, his truck's right there, he's unloading the gun. Here comes this gentleman riding by. He could accidentally get shot. So it's a whole lot easier. You got your safety on? Yes, I do. Let's go on and get back in the truck. But the unloading and the loading of the gun, frequent times, that's where the accident is going to happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else like to speak? All right, anyone in the virtual world like to speak on this issue? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak on this issue tonight? Got anybody? All right, since we have no one else wants to speak, I'm going to close the public hearing and the matters before the board. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we accept this change.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, got a second.
And
Any
this-
other discussion?
This only pertains to hunting.
Right.
Yeah, only pertains to hunting,
Right.
from what I have understood.
I mean, because if it don't.
What he said pertaining to hunting.
Yeah,
Only pertains to
okay.
hunting.
Okay, because I'm not in agreement that people can't protect it. That's why.
Well, again, this is just a code section update. It's not
Okay.
for the language,
Okay.
a change in the language in any way.
All right, any other comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, motion passes. All right, our next item on the agenda tonight would be an ordinance on tent camping. Wait a minute. No, I'm sorry, wrong one.
Yeah.
It's an ordinance on travel trailers, and that is Stuart McKenzie.
Yes, sir. A revision to the Northumberland County zoning ordinance, section 148-153, travel trailers, to delete the definition of travel trailers, define recreational vehicles, and rename the travel trailer ordinance to the recreational vehicles ordinance. This modification also includes separating tent camping into a new zoning ordinance section. I received no comments regarding this action.
Okay.
And it's basically trying to clarify our ordinance so that it's clear to people that come into the county that powered RVs are treated the same as a tow behind travel trailer.
Okay, so whether it's drivable or towable, it's all going to be considered the same thing.
Yes, sir, and if you'd like for me to read the old definition for travel trailers, I can do that.
Would you please?
Yes, sir. The old definition for travel trailer is a vehicle designed to provide temporary living quarters of such size or weight as to not require special highway movement permits when towed by a motor vehicle and having a gross trailer area of less than 320 square feet. See Code of Virginia, section 46.2-1900. And the new definition, which we're going to call recreational vehicles, will be any vehicle with or without collapsible sides, designed, used, or maintained for use as a conveyance upon highways, either self-propelled or designed to be towed by another vehicle, and which is so designed and constructed as to permit occupancy thereof as a temporary dwelling or sleeping place for one or more persons. The term recreational vehicle shall include the terms camper, camping trailer, travel trailer, self-propelled motorhome, camper vehicle, and RV.
All right. Thank you then. All right, any board members have any comments before I open the public hearing?
I have one question, just to make sure I have a person asked me. A person would be able to store their recreational vehicle on their property. Make sure they wouldn't have to tie it into a system.
Mr. Kenzie?
I would have to refer to Mr. Marston, zoning administrator.
All right, Mr. Marston?
In relation to their residence, yes.
It would not be a problem.
Correct.
Okay, so that was that question. I want.
In relation to a home, not a vacant.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be any problem, say that same person had grandkids or kids coming over to stay in that camper on their own property that has a dwelling and has a septic system.
Correct. All right. Any other board member have any comments or questions? All right. I will open the public hearing tonight. And the first person on the sign-up sheet is Mr. Johnson, James Johnson.
I'm not sure. I think I want my comments on the tent camping. I support this change in definition.
All right, okay, Mr. Johnson. And next person is Charles Lunsford.
I'm supportive of the change on the travel trailer ordinance. My comments are on the tent camping.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lunsford. Next one is Jimmy Moore,
I'm the same with them. I'm one that can't.
on the camping, okay. All right, I don't have anyone else on the sign-up sheet, but would anyone like to speak tonight? Anyone else like to speak? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak tonight on travel trailers? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak on travel trailers? No one? All right, since we have no one else wants to speak, I'm closing the public hearing and the matter is before the board. What's the pleasure of the board now?
I move we adopt this change.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. 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 All right. Our next item would be the tent camping zoning ordinance section. And Mr. McKenzie?
Yes, sir. Create a tent camping zoning ordinance section, make commercial camping with compensation of conditional use in A1 agriculture, R2 residential waterfront, and C1 conservation zoning districts. Commercial camping with compensation will be prohibited in all other zoning districts. Camping without compensation on undeveloped properties less than 1 acre would require the use of a health department approved sanitation facility. Further discussion led the Planning Commission to recommend that the board to replace the term undeveloped land with property without a dwelling unit or a recreational vehicle connected to a permitted septic system.
All right. Board members have any questions? Board members have any questions?
No, you don't.
All right. Okay. All right. All right. All right, I'm going to open the public hearing tonight. There's no one on the sign-up sheet, but Mr. Johnson, you had signed up on the other sheet, so would you like to speak now?
Yes, sir. I previously furnished my comments to Stuart. I believe he sent it out to the board. I'm very supportive of this proposal. I think it's a good breaching of recognizing the rights of certain organizations to do short-term camping, but it also recognizes the need for sanitation facilities on smaller type lots. I think this will be consistent with continuing to allow Boy Scouts, Girl Scout type organization for short-term camping while recognizing the needs of an established community. I would like to ask the board whether this is the appropriate place or not, is to continue to consider density requirements as far as the size of a tent and the number of people that can stay in that tent overnight. I would also ask the board to continue to think with the development of the county, especially in the R2 waterfront residential area, the vast parts of land that are vacant, vast parts of lands that are highly developed. There may be an opportunity at this point where the board can look at subclassifications of that zoning that would recognize historically established neighborhoods within the R2 waterfront residential and have different development criteria for those. Those of us at Judas Sound, we can't have a homeowners association without 100% support, so it's nothing we can do from that regard. But again, less than a mile from my house, there's a lot of vacant land, R2, waterfront residential. That would be a great campground. There's a vacant lot right behind my house, less than a quarter of an acre, that I don't think would be good for a campground. So I'd ask that the Planning Commission and the staff continue to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, next person would be Mr. Charles Lunsford.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to comment. My wife, Catherine, and I own a cottage at 373 Judithstown Road in Louisetta. We've owned this property for 30 years. Our little neighborhood in Judithstown has been changing over the last several years, with the county allowing travel trailers to be located and occupied on lots where there's water, sewer, and electric hookup. We had 3 of these sites on our road. Additionally, several residents have become Airbnbs. And then on Memorial Day weekend last year, we got blessed with a commercial tent site operating under tent R&R business model. We're concerned about the direction of these changes in our neighborhood for a number of reasons. For one, it's changing the land use away from a residential neighborhood type of environment. There are also additional lots in our neighborhood that could end up being tent camping sites. These lots on undeveloped land could be used for tent camping without compensation, solely based on what's on the books now, permission granted to a camper. At the February 16th Planning Commission meeting, as you know, tent camping language was unanimously passed that Mr. McKenzie just went over. That includes a camping time limit as far as 7 consecutive days, and for undeveloped lots less than an acre, there has to be a health department approved sanitation. Well, we don't really like the idea of tent sites in our residential neighborhood. We strongly agree they shouldn't be allowed without restrictions for time limits and sanitation. I'd just like to talk about the necessity of a time limit. If you don't pass this proposed language, you end up allowing primitive camping, which is defined as temporary with no amenities like electricity, potable water, restrooms, and trash receptacles. It's even in remote areas. I did some research into this. In national parks, national and state forests in Virginia and other states, there's a time limit on primitive camping of 14 to 21 days per event. So it makes sense to limit the duration of these tent camping events in areas that are not as remote. Second, sanitation requirements for campers are critical, especially on these small lots in these residential zoned areas. You don't want to see someone next door disposing of sanitary waste in a trash can or on the ground. For example, Gloucester County has a documented regulation against this, Article 3, Section 19-16. And in Middlesex County, they have a 48-hour maximum time limit on camping. This includes tent camping outside of a campground unless adequate provisions are made for sanitation. Just speaking of our area in Louisetta, there's a number of undeveloped lots that have drainage ditches that empty into the river. There's a high water table and some border wetlands. Such conditions contributed to the spread of fecal bacteria source off-site. So that's why sanitation devices are critical. Lastly, there's been a mention.
Mr. Lawrence, that's your time.
Okay. Well, Mr. Johnson talked about Boy Scouts. I would just like to close by saying we would also like to see our real estate values safeguarded.
Thank you, sir. All right, next person would be Jimmy Moore.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson covered pretty much what I want to say, so.
Okay. All right, I don't have anyone else on the sign-up sheet. Would anyone else like to speak tonight? Anyone else like to speak tonight? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak on tent camping tonight?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you state your name, please?
Yes, I'm Julie Deaver. I am the home at 28 Bushsetty Lane, Lotsburg, Virginia. I live in the Judastown Road neighborhood, and I currently have the tent R&R site within 129 feet of my home. I am in agreement with this ordinance as it's been developed. The one thing that I would like to state so that other homeowners don't end up with the same situation I'm dealing with is that the R2 residential waterfront zoning be looked at to have subcategories to differentiate, because I feel this camping for compensation is left in the R2 because there are campgrounds in the R2 residential waterfront zoning that we separated with subcategories as in A for campgrounds, B for communities where there are defined neighborhoods with lots less than 1 acre, that is defined and separated as a separate category so it can be separated out from not being allowed to have tent camping for compensation. It would help alleviate some of these issues that we're having, and especially as the county is growing and because there is so much land that is designated as R2 residential waterfront. So really appreciate it if the county would consider making this adjustment into the zoning categories. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Would anyone else in the virtual world like to speak on solar camp, on tent camping?
Oh, you're getting tired.
Solar on my mind.
Yeah, I got solar on my mind, I'm sorry.
Your mind's fried.
Yeah. Would anyone else in the virtual world like to speak on tent camping? No one else? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing and the matter is before the board.
I got 2 questions.
All right, Mr. Brown?
Mr. Morrison, did we ever get the information back from the health department that you asked?
I have not heard back from the health department. I have requested to be kept in the loop, and I'm not sure that a decision even to date has been made.
Okay, and define approved health department sanitation facility. So what are they talking that they will approve? What would the health department approve?
That's part of what's up for discussion, which is what began this with the tent RR site and their sanitation device. So that I'm still waiting for the
Okay,
health
so we're
department
gonna
to make that determination.
we're gonna vote on and approve something, but yet we don't really know what we're approving because the health department hasn't communicated with you. Okay.
All right, anyone else have any comments?
My question is, this is without compensation. What about for compensation? That was some of the biggest concern, basically, B&B tent camping. This doesn't touch that piece.
That, oh, go ahead. What about
that? Yeah, we originally addressed that and made conditional use in 3 zoning districts.
Okay.
But then kicked it back to the planning commission to address the recreation.
Right. But by this, it's 7 consecutive, we can't, that language is not before the board, so to speak. But if a property owner owns their own property, wants to use their property, they come down on a Friday night and they were planning to do the whole week, they can't do that, because that's 9 days. They'd have to leave on a Friday by having 7 consecutive days.
Mr. Morris?
That is correct, the way it was written, 7 consecutive days.
Mr. Gregory, you want to comment?
Not really, but I will.
All right. Not really, then.
I think the commercial, correct me if I'm wrong, but the commercial tent camping that ordinance that you all adopted, it was inspired by the 10RR conflict, was already adopted, right?
Okay, want to make sure.
And so unless an operator can demonstrate that the sanitary facility is approved by the health department, then it would be in violation of that ordinance. And it's my understanding, if the health department hasn't issued a determination approving that, they can't demonstrate that.
They can't say it's permitted, they can't say it's unpermitted, that's the problem.
No, you can definitely say it's not permitted because they don't have a permit.
Well, they ain't come up with an answer.
I think we need to carry over until we hear from the health
I
department.
agree.
But this is not in relation to the commercial 10RR situation. This is just residential.
So you're saying we don't need the health department to be involved?
Yes, we do.
I think so too.
Unless we're gonna leave what an approved sanitation facility means. Approved by them could be anything from a pit privy all the way up to a septic system.
Yeah, it could be a porta john.
Well, I remember in Boy Scouts, we had pit privies.
Yeah, I realize that.
Yeah. All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
For commercial, this is for non-commercial.
Or does the board have any more comments on it?
I said we
Recreational camps.
And I don't know how long
I
Ronnie will
think
be
we need
out
to
there,
carry
but I
over.
think we ought to wait on a
Yeah,
vote
we
on
wait.
it.
I think we need to carry it over.
Let's wait for Mr. Jeff.
Let's wait for him to get back in.
Okay, it's a conversation.
This is
With-
commercial.
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Therefore, there's no
language in there
But you're right. I think we need to wait
Well,
and see what the
I
health
have more
department
problems with the landowner being restricted in this case, for his own use.
on use.
Yeah, we're not talking the B and B
Yeah.
thing.
I know. We're waiting for Mr. Jack to get back before we make a decision here.
This is what they're proposing, right?
I think that's some additional language. See that down,
You all right?
Yeah.
Mr. Lunsford, the public hearing has been closed. You okay? You okay? All right. All right, what's the pleasure of the board now?
I'm gonna make a motion that we carry it over. That's my opinion until we receive.
The motion is to carry it over, Mr. Long?
Yes.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against? Motion carried over. Not at this time, Mr. Johnson. Yes, sir, at the end of the meeting you can. All right. No, can't comment on this at the end
He
of the
can
meeting.
talk to Mr., he can talk to Mr. Haney individually.
Yeah.
On his mind.
Thank you, Mr. Jett. All right. Next item is the amendment to the fiscal year 2023 school budget. Mr. Tadlock?
Yes, sir. We have a budget amendment for the purpose of appropriating monies which are part of the elementary and secondary school emergency relief, also known as ESSER funding, of various school grants and construction funds to be accounted for within the fiscal year 23 budget. The total amount is $5,608,626.65.
Repeat that again, Mr. Tell that amount.
$5,608,626.65.
All right, any board members have any comments or questions for Mr. Tadlock before I open the public hearing?
Nope.
No questions, comments? All right. I will open the public hearing on this. I have no one signed up to speak, but would anyone like to speak? Would anyone like to speak on this amendment to the school budget? Anyone like to speak? All right, would anyone in the virtual world like to speak? Anyone in the virtual world like to speak on the school budget amendment? Nobody? All right, since no one wants to speak, I'll close the public hearing and the matters before the board.
I move that we grant this budget amendment for the school board.
All right, we have a motion to grant the budget request. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? All right, second's not required. Any other discussion on this?
I'm still looking.
What was that, Ms. Brown?
I said I'm still looking.
Still looking, all right. I'll give you a few more minutes. Mr. Tadlock, have we received any information back from the school system on this?
As far as we did have the one question regarding the HVAC.
Yeah.
And we did get a response regarding that matter. But I'm not sure what other questions the board may have.
Okay. The board have any questions?
Only question I got is on a lot of the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. This is the last of that fund, the funds.
Says so.
The ESSER 2 and 3, is that the last of those funds?
Is that the last of the funds, Mr. Tadlock?
As far as I know, not to say that there are not other types of grants, but to my knowledge, that's the remaining portion of it, correct?
Now, Mr. Tadlock, was any of this money going to be used on the school CIP?
That I would have to look into. I don't, we would have to get clarification on that.
All right, would you get clarification on that?
Well, we have a motion on the floor.
I know, we have a motion on the floor, but, all right, we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
Nay. Motion does not pass. Now, Mr. Tadlock, would you get clarification on the CIP plan?
Okay.
And if you need it, I'll put that in the form of a motion, or if you do not need it in the form of a motion.
You can, just for clarification.
All right, I'll put it in the form of a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against?
Nay.
All right. Motion passes 4-1. All right, Mr. Tadlock, you have anything else tonight?
That is all of the public hearings that we have. I do have the action that I need the board to take regarding closed meeting item, but I don't know if the board has anything else first. But.
What's that, Mr. Tadlock? Say it a little louder. What'd you say?
The only thing that I have is regarding the closed meeting item, regarding the hire. But I don't have anything else regarding the public hearings.
All right. Do you want to take care of yours first then, Mr. Tadlock?
We do have gentleman, William Keene, that we would like to bring on for the sanitary district, for the wastewater operator. If I could get the approval from the board, with a salary of $34,532.57.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion, second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. You have anything else, Mr. Tadlock?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I have one thing that I forgot to bring up in our board comment. I sent everyone an email out on the Rural Solar Development Coalition. And I hope y'all got the email. The lady's name is Susan Seward, and she has offered to come with her partner to come here on, let's see, the week of the 15th, and be more than glad to sit down with us for whatever, how long it takes to discuss solar, of what you can do, what you cannot do, what the benefits are of it, and also, I'd like to know if the rest of the board would be willing to do that.
What are you talking about, May?
Talk about this month.
This month, that's 15th on a Saturday.
Week of the 15th.
Oh, the
She
week.
is on the week of the 17th, actually.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
week of the 17th.
Yeah, week of the 17th.
Depends on how many days you want to camp.
Yeah. That's right, depends how many days you want to camp. Yeah, week of the 17th. She's
Right.
opened to that week to come in. And I think it may be in our best interest to do this.
When it?
You want to contact her, Mr. Tadlock?
Yes, sir, I can.
See which days, give her a couple different days and see what she can do. What days would the board be interested in doing it?
Well,
18th, 20th, or 21st, May.
we've got a meeting on the 19th already
Yeah,
scheduled.
we got a meeting on 19th, right? But either one.
How long
of
do you think it would take for her to present?
See,
Couple hours.
Couple
yeah,
hours?
So we can't
Hour
do it.
probably for her and an hour for discussion.
All right, that's a separate day then.
No, we
Yeah,
need
that
separate
would-
days.
I think that's about what it would take.
Yeah, okay.
How about the 18th, 20th?
You've got
18th,
five.
18th,
Huh?
I got class.
How about 20th?
20th, I got planning commission at 7 PM, so if we can do it before that, it's no problem.
Do it at 5,
Go to
We can
5
do
on
it
the
at
20th.
5, we can do it 4:30,
whatever their
5 on the
availability.
20th?
5 on the 20th. That'd be okay, Mr. Tadlock?
I'm sorry, 5 o'clock on the 20th.
5 o'clock on the 20th.
You'd like for me to reach out to her?
Yeah, reach out to her.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right. All right, since we have, if we don't have anything else to talk about, we have a, Mr. Johnson? Yes. I'll give you 1 minute, but you cannot talk about anything that we've had public hearings on.
Good luck with that.
But my only comment is, I want to clarify in my own mind, what is the climate tent camping act? What was approved in December?
We cannot talk about the tent camping right now. You can talk, the public hearing has been closed on that.
Get it with Mr. Morrison, he could help
Yeah,
you maybe.
Speak with Mr. Marston on that after the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, if we have nothing else, Ms. Tadlock, you have nothing else? And we have
No,
a
sir.
meeting next, what is it, next Wednesday,
19.
the 19th. I will entertain a motion to carry over to the 19th at 5:30 PM.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight, and you're welcome to come back on the 19th.